Yo, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to today's video, and I have got an interesting article for you. Now, I'm seeing a comment in the comment section saying "Nawalt." Now, this isn't an Nawalt argument. I'm not, guys. Please don't jump to that conclusion. I'm not. This is not a video to say, "Oh, look, not all women are like that." That's not what I'm presenting here today. So I'm not going to go down that angle. What I do want to say though is that there are some women that are waking up to the fact that maybe not everything is as the universities are pushing it. Not everything is as the leftists and the totalitarians are pushing it. And there's a few female ministers in the UK that are coming up with some interesting things. And I'm going to share these for you in order of sequence. So chronological order from about a month ago. So this article that I'm about to bring up, when was that? That was on the 21st of October, 2020. So let me just share this screen with you and bring this up so we can see what I'm talking about. All right, window. That's the one. Now, this lady here, her name, and I think I'm going to get this right, is Kemi Badenoch. And she is not actually, she's a minister. No, she is Exchequer Secretary to the Treasury and Parliamentary Undersecretary of State. So she is one of the ministers for equalities. There's a number of ministers for equalities. She is one of them, but not minister for equalities in the sense of specifically targeting women, but just as more general blanket. Thank you, MGTOW Elder Monk, for that super chat, man. I appreciate it, and I will keep up the good work. And she wrote, this is an article that was on her. It says, teaching white privilege as uncontested fact is illegal, minister says. Yes, it is. Take note, universities. Kemi Badenoch tells Commons debate on Black History Month that schools must offer opposing views. Now, there's not just one minister that's, so she's opposing the whole racial thing, and I've got another minister opposing something else, which is even more insidious and more specifically impacting more of us men. But let me just quickly share this with you. So schools that teach that white privilege is an uncontested fact are breaking the law, the Women and Equalities Minister has said. And this is a picture of her here. So this is a Black woman saying that we can't be teaching white privilege. And I respect that. You know, I would respect it if it was a man. I would respect it if it was a woman. I would respect it if it was from a Black or a white person or any other color in between. So I just wanted to put that out there because this isn't me going, oh my God, look, she's in a world. She's a Black woman speaking out against this. No, this is just me paying homage and respect to someone who's speaking common sense from a position of authority, finally. Addressing MPs during a Commons debate on Black History Month, she said the government does not want white children being taught about white privilege and their inherited racial guilt. I don't think any children should be taught that, but I get what she's saying, because it tends to be more targeted at people who have white skin, just purely because they have white skin. Any school which teaches these elements of political race theory as fact or which promotes partisan, that is, not both sides, partisan political views such as defunding the police without offering a balanced treatment of opposing views is breaking the law, she said. Oh, shots fired. She added that schools have a statutory duty to remain politically impartial and should not openly support the, and I quote, the anti-capitalist Black Lives Matter group. More shots fired. Badenoch was speaking in response to Labour MP Dawn Butler, who had told the Commons that Black children are made to feel inferior by what they are taught in school and history needs to be decolonized. Who is this Labour MP Dawn Butler? Let's have a look at this bitter old hag. Let's search DuckDuckGo for her, shall we? Oh, interesting. So we've got a leftist victimhood ideologue against someone with some common sense. I don't know. I just feel like this lady has got a bit more common sense than the other one. And by a bit more, I mean a lot more. At the moment, history is taught to make one group of people feel inferior and another group of people feel superior, and this has to stop, Butler says. Well, we're not trying to make anyone who is not white feel inferior, Dawn. You're just an idiot. That's my opinion. History needs to be decolonized, Dawn says. You can go through the whole of the GCSE and not have reference to any black authors at all. Yeah, and not going to go there. You could go through history and not understand the richness of Africa and the Caribbean. No, you can't go through history and not understand that. You can't. That's part of history, you idiot. You can go through history and not understand all the leaders in the black community. Oh, cupcake. Support for moves to decolonize teaching in the UK have garnered substantial support in recent years, particularly at universities. What did I say? The universities are cancer. Although a Guardian investigation found only a fifth have committed to reforming their curriculum to confront the harmful legacy of colonialism. Haha. So only 20% of them are prepared to put their money where their mouth is. The rest are just virtue signaling, which is about as much as I expected from these leftist shitholes that we call Western universities. The former Labour leader, Jeremy Corbyn, also backed the calls for decolonization. Fuck off, Jeremy. Anyway, I guess I just wanted to give you a bit of a snippet of this before I move on to the next thing. And by the way, another thing that here, white Black Lives Matter protester called a black public officer guarding Downing Street a pet something. Now I'm going to let you fill in these blanks right here. I'm not going to say it because I respect my brothers and my sisters, and I also am a little bit fearful of the YouTube algorithm for obvious reasons. Anyway, the white BLM protester called a black police officer guarding Downing Street that name, and guess who revealed that? It was Kemi Badenoch, the person who just said that critical race theory is cancer, as she slams it as a political movement, which it is, and warns teaching children that white privilege is a fact is illegal. Yes, it is. Thank you. Let's move on to the next one now. This is Jessica Butcher. Now, she is the new Equalities Commissioner, and she is not only the new Equalities Commissioner, but she is the Minister for Women and Equalities, right? New Equalities Commissioner attacked modern womanism and hashtag me also. One of the government's newly appointed Equality Commissioners says modern womanism disempowers women and blamed the me also movement for ruining men's reputations without due process, the Observer can reveal. Wow, Jessica is a little based. And again, this isn't a Nawalt argument. What I'm saying is that if it was a guy with the same argument, I would have exactly the same sentiments. I actually think that it's even better that a woman has this argument, not because I think that women have some special status over men, but because typically speaking, women tend to buy into the victimhood more, because when you feel victimized, you want to fight back against what's victimizing. But she hasn't fallen into that trap, right? Unlike some of the weak male feminists that I don't respect, and the weak female feminists that I also don't respect. And I don't like any of the feminists, whether they happen to be male or whether they happen to be female, right? Because unless you're teaching people how to empower themselves rather than get advantages over other people, you're never going to hand them the keys to their own world. But by teaching people, yes, you can be successful, you can be capable, you can be strong, you can be successful in your own right. You are giving people the right tools to build themselves up and not tear themselves down. Now, Jessica Butcher, a successful digital entrepreneur. See that? Successful digital entrepreneur. Now, what does that mean? It means she's worked in STEM, and means she's going to have to be pretty logical if she wants to be a digital entrepreneur, because you can't be a digital entrepreneur with just feelings, right? And here we go. She was last week appointed as one of 4 new commissioners at the Equality and Human Rights Commission by Liz Truss, the Minister for Women and Equalities. I think this is a positive move. The EHRC's role is to enforce the Equality Act, Britain's key equality law, and to reduce inequality and tackle discrimination. Even if that discrimination is against someone who is Caucasian, even if that discrimination is against someone who happens to not like people of the same sex sexually, even if that person happens to be male. Commissioners help set the body's strategic direction. But in a series of speeches, interviews, and articles, Butcher, who describes herself as an old-school feminist, has criticized many recent feminist campaigns, including on issues in which the EHRC plays a significant role. Now, when I say feminist, I am reading this specifically from a left-leaning news outlet, so don't shoot the messenger, YouTube moderators. Badenoch, here we go. In a talk in 2018, Butcher said, and this, I believe 2018, if I'm not mistaken, was before she was brought on. Let me just quickly check this. So she was appointed Minister for Women and Equalities on 10th of September 2019. Okay, interesting. So she's been actually nominated as the Minister for Women and Equalities after she came out and said this. And what she said in 2018, she said, feminism, like other forms of identity politics, has become obsessed with female victimhood. Whereas it used to be about the portrayal of women as mature, equal partners in society, it now seems to be more about girl power, and yet it disempowers, assumes that we're weak and defenseless, like children, no less. We've spoken a lot about how we are infantilizing and encouraging women to become more childlike. And I just don't know that doing that is necessarily beneficial to people, generally speaking. In fact, I think I remember this TED Talk. There we go. I typed in Jess Butcher into YouTube and it straight away came up with TED Talk. Interesting. I've actually got this bookmarked. I've got this bookmarked. I forgot about this. I didn't realize it was the same person. I'm going to share that video with you very, very shortly. But I'm just going to finish this off because I think this video is about 16 minutes and I'm going to play it for you after I give my commentary on this article so that I can kind of break it down and have a conversation about it with you guys. By the way, I'd also like to say thank you to the super chat from MGTOW Elder Monk again. He says, this killed the black community when I was a teenager, playing victim and blaming instead of working together so everybody gains. Exactly. We need to stop dividing and start uniting. All right. And I don't think that anyone should be dividing anyone based on sex or based on color or anything else. We can have our own opinions and we can have our own cultural differences, but we don't need to divide. It's not necessary. It's disenfranchising and it is just discriminatory in my view. That's my position on it. So feminism, yeah. So whereas it used to be about the portrayal of women as mature, she added, working class girls have been deprived of jobs that they love, such as page 3 girls and Formula 1 grid girls, because other women disapprove of them. Anyone remember that one? I do. What happened to my body, my choice? Absolutely, Jess. She also criticized the Me Also movement, saying men have had their careers and reputations ruined overnight by Me Also, some possibly justly, but without any due process, no innocence until proven guilty. Butcher has also criticized a womanist narrative of discrimination for reducing the lady's confidence in pursuing careers. She does not deny that gender discrimination exists, and it does exist both ways. But in an interview last year, she suggested that women who think they've been discriminated against should find a way around it rather than complaining. I absolutely agree. And that's going to earn the respect of their peers. Even if it was due to discrimination, the most productive reaction to that is not wounded insecurity. Go cry to someone about how you might have been gender discriminated against, she said, but it's actually to go, well, come on then, I'll show you, and take the onus to circumvent the situation in some way. You know, resilience, it should be about resilience. I agree with you 100%, Jess. And I feel that the narrative of discrimination and victimhood undermines both that confidence and that resilience, and also the individual onus to take ownership of how you put yourself forward and to mold yourself, change yourself to the circumstances as required. The EHRC periodically intervenes in legal action against discrimination, including a case where a job offer was withdrawn because the woman was pregnant. Harriet Harman, the former Labour deputy leader and key driver behind the Equality Act, told The Observer, the whole point of the EHRC is to fight against inequality. So anyway, also Iqwan Arif says, Sydney, even if you don't disenfranchise communists, they'll still disenfranchise and cancel you. Similarly, even if you treat women equally, women won't treat you equally as well. Look, I agree with that. I agree with that, Iqwan. And my response to that would not be to disagree with you, but also to add to that. And what I mean by that is exactly what Jess was just specifically talking about. Jess was just talking about how resilience, it should be about resilience. And even if something was due to discrimination, the most productive reaction to that is not wounded insecurity. Go cry to someone about how you might have been gender discriminated against, she said. But it's to go, well, come on, I'll show you. And guys, it's people like me and other men in the manosphere that are doing exactly that. We are showing you how to best become resilient, how to not play the victim, and how to move forward in your own right. And I think this is really the key to us men moving forward and how we need to approach things, because crying victim is not going to get us anywhere, just as it's not going to get the ladies anywhere. So let me move on now, because I really want to share this YouTube video from Jess.
Do you see that California regional Democrat who says we need to
calm down, Tim? Bit of Tim Pool going on there. Here we go. Let's have a listen. I'm going to break this down for you guys. If you want me to turn the volume up or down, just let me know in the comments.
Good afternoon.
Just going to turn this quality down a little bit. Oh, it's already on 360p. Oh my goodness. This internet sucks. By the way, have you guys heard of Klaus Schwab, the founder of the World Economic Forum? He's talking about the Great Reset. He's done a number of videos on it. There was a video that came out saying, oh, you'll own nothing and you'll be happy. And that was in 2018, I believe, or earlier this year. I can't quite remember.
I'm not sure if I can detect any bristling in the audience with my somewhat controversial title, given that we sit here in a diversity-themed event. What I will say is just please bear with me, particularly because I'm going to be starting on such a positive note. There has never been a better time to be a woman.
That is true.
Never have women had as many opportunities as they do now.
Absolutely.
To run countries, companies, to control their personal, financial, and sex lives. Girls outperform boys at school.
They do.
More go to university.
They do.
Women in their 20s and early 30s are frequently out-earning men.
Absolute fact.
We should feel optimistic.
You should.
And yet we're not.
Why would that be? Victimhood.
In fact, sometimes it seems all womanhood is depressed.
Ooh.
Faced by an avalanche of information regarding the ongoing disparity in fortunes between women and men.
Based
by
in
a
bullshit.
narrative of disadvantage and societal patriarchy that runs through Me Too, the gender pay gap, the glass ceiling, and more.
All bullshit.
But how crystal cut are these assumptions?
Not very crystal cut at all.
What are the possible implications for how women respond to both opportunities and challenges in their lives?
Negative.
So who am I? A woman, yes, and a mother to 3 children under 5. I'm a successful entrepreneur, enjoying a career where I get to deal with some of the biggest thinkers and doers in the world today.
Respect.
In business, in politics, in media, academia. I'm privileged, no question.
You are.
My race, background, and opportunities mark me out as one of the privileged elite. What do I know about disadvantage? What's my agenda here? Well, as a woman, I'm a minority.
Also, by the way, usually it is the very same Caucasian privileged women that are crying out about patriarchy and how they're disadvantaged. So at least I respect that she acknowledges all of these things about herself.
In my fields of technology and entrepreneurship, hard industries to be a woman in, or so the narrative would have you believe. No, not so.
See, technology, hard industry to be a part of, or so the narrative would have you believe. But yet someone who is in the industry, who's at a very high level, who's very, very successful in the industry, completely disagrees with you. And I'm so glad that this woman is now the, the Minister for Women and Inequalities in the UK, because she's calling the BS. She's calling the BS. And look, you know, I'd prefer to have a no-nonsense guy in there, to be honest. But if it's got to be a woman, I'd prefer it to be someone like her than someone like Sarah Hanson Young or Julia Gillard or one of these nut jobs like Rosie Batty or, you know, Jess Phillips or one of these insane people.
I don't believe that this has been a disadvantage.
Hasn't
Only
been a
the most
disadvantage.
incredible opportunity.
Has given her
One that has
incredible
enabled me to stand out and get recognition.
Yep.
I describe myself as an entrepreneur, not a female entrepreneur.
Good.
Because I subscribe to a brand of feminism that told me I could be and do anything the boys could. And in fact, I've come to resent a move towards positive discrimination that might imply that any of my achievements have been down to anything other than merit.
She's come to resent positive discrimination, which might suggest that anything other than her achievements would be down to merit. Now, why is all of this important? Why am I so optimistic about this? And I know a lot of you guys aren't optimistic, and I know a lot of you guys are going, well, hang on, there's something not right here. And I know some of you are saying that there's an ulterior motive to any garbage like this. But this woman was speaking this way out of a place of common sense and not out of a place of ideology, speaking from experience rather than perception. And she's now the person in charge of women inequalities, because there's going to be someone in charge of women inequalities. And I got to tell you what, I'd rather someone like her than some psychotic person like Clementine Ford. Right? I mean, guys, look, if it's going to be between the two, I'm going to much prefer someone like this. And I'm not saying this is necessarily going to bring a boon to men, but at least it's going to ease the knife. Like the knife's going to not be as stabby, you know what I mean? So, you know, look, I am cautiously optimistic about someone like this being in charge rather than someone like Mona El-Tahawi or some crazy nut job radical left-wing feminist. That's my take on this. Come on, play for me, play for me.
If I look back at all my good fortune, I can honestly say that to a large extent, it's been down to the love, support, and belief of the men in my life.
See, men really do help women.
My father, my husband.
She had a father. No wonder she's more well-adjusted than some of these nutters that I see.
The bosses, business partners, peers, and mentors who've enabled my journey.
And when she says her husband, that would lead me to assume that she's still married, which means she hasn't gone for the gone down to the fruit store and picked out a grapefruit and used that for the separation process.
But of course, the biggest advantage I possess is self-confidence and belief.
Guys, that's a very good point. The biggest advantage she possesses is self-confidence and belief. And this is something that I really want to inspire all of you men to take on. I really, truly want with all my heart, guys. Like, I don't get, look, look, I get a few super chats, and I really appreciate the super chats because they do help me to buy equipment. But I'm not buying Rolexes and going out and driving McLarens and Rolls Royces and buying multi-million-dollar houses with the super chats I get, you know, that they basically cover the expenses and cover the new equipment. I haven't bought all the equipment yet, and I've been doing this for 3 years. You see, I do this out of love for you guys. I don't do this for the money at all. And I appreciate all you guys who like and share and comment and engage with these videos and tell your friends about these videos. And, and I'm so deeply grateful for all the stories that you guys share with me about where you've had successes in your lives due to maybe something that I've said. It really, I don't really have words for how grateful I am for those sentiments that people share. So shout out Hammerhand, says 101 in the box and 58 funsies. Smash that like, man. Hey, let's get back onto this.
And it's this that I want to look at in more detail today. Why is it seemingly so much harder to find in women than in men? And how might modern feminism be further undermining it?
How might modern feminism be undermining? Let's continue.
So talk of the gender pay gap is everywhere, and actually incorrectly assumed by 70% of the population to refer to women being paid less for the same work.
Which of course it's not.
True. Illegal, actually, and also nonsensical.
Yep.
As surely businesses would prefer to pay a cheaper workforce.
Absolutely.
The median disparity of 18.4% can, to a large extent, be explained by the choice of 42% of women to work part-time.
Definitely.
The figure drops to 9.1% when you compare
42% of women working part-time. That means that only 58% of them are working or unemployed. Or maybe she's just talking about the workforce pool, and in that case, maximum of 58% of women is working full-time. Interesting.
Compare full-time to full-time. With this figure understandable to a degree by the fact that women are choosing different profession types.
They are.
Women in their 20s and early 30s, as we've heard, are frequently out-earning men. The pay gap is negligible. It fluctuates. Some years, women out-earn men. And part-time women actually out-earn part-time men.
That is correct.
So in effect, the headline statistic ignores many of the complicated variable factors beneath it. And in particular, a potential positive, that of female choice. The glass ceiling. It's been shattered time and time again by female heads of state and business leaders, demonstrating that for those women that do aspire to that sort of career, it's absolutely possible.
100%.
But these are, of course, hard, masochistic almost lives.
They are.
Filled with imbalance, politics, stress, long hours.
Which most women don't want.
We can hardly even whisper any suspicion we may have that this is a lifestyle that fewer women and mothers aspire to.
Because you get yelled at.
Only the tiniest percentage of men. Right now, I'm currently observing a large number of some of my highest flying friends quietly leaning out of aspirations of making partner, away from 60-hour work weeks, with some choosing to quit altogether so as not to enjoy these early years of family life.
Notice how she's saying a number of people that she knows are opting out of opportunities for partner in the law firm and other places, right? And this is something that Jordan Peterson spoke of. Hey, you've got all of these female lawyers, the law profession is becoming dominated by women, and women are shooting to the top, and that they've got not only so much support in university, not only people chomping at the bit to hire them so they can say, look, we got women on board, but they've also got affirmative action on top of that. And on top of all of that, after all of that, on top of the whole lot of it, they get all the way to the top, they make partner, and then they're like, I don't want to work all these hours. I want to spend more time with my family. And I've bought my 2 houses and, I've got $1,500 a week coming in from the rent on my 2 houses. And, I just want to spend more time with the kids, and I don't want to be getting up at 2 a.m. in the morning to deal with this international client who is saying that if I don't help them right now, they're going to go and find someone else who will, and I'm going to lose my, $200,000 a year contract with them. Like, this is the kind of stresses that men just put up with and deal with for the sake of their families, and a lot of women don't want to. And I can't blame them. I honestly can't blame them, guys. Like, we can't. Who really wants to do all this? If you were that person and you had an income already, or you had someone else in the household providing the income and paying for everything, why would you want to work all of those hours? You wouldn't. And women are making the choice to opt out because they know that their husbands will pick up the slack, take on the responsibility for the family, and just keep plowing through and make it work, because that's what men do. They provide, right? I mean, that's not how it should be, but that just has been the general modus operandi for quite some time. So let's move on to the next bit.
Myself included. 2 years ago, I made the decision to step back from the front seat of my business to spend more time with my 3 children. And it's a decision I will never regret. Having lost 2 friends recently.
She doesn't regret being paid less because of the decisions that she wanted to make. And nor should she regret it. If it's making her happy, that's cool.
Very early in their lives, it really brought home to me the fact that I will never get these years back.
That's right.
That's too important. But of course, women like me are partly responsible for the gender pay gap. Many of us may never go knocking on that glass ceiling because it's...
Women like me are responsible for the gender pay gap. This is the new Minister for Women and Equalities doing a TED Talk a couple of years before she became the Minister for Women and Equalities.
Simply not a lifestyle that we desire. Those just 2 of the big feminist issues of our time, with others, including Me Too, online trolling, body shaming and objectification, and domestic violence. All issues that you'd be forgiven for thinking were exclusively female.
All issues that you'd be forgiven for thinking were exclusively female. Why? Because that's all the media and Hollywood presents to you.
Now, there's been a lot of very good intentioned campaigning behind these issues and some very positive byproducts, such as the light being shined on some of the more insidious ways in which some men can mistreat and underestimate women. And of course, on abuses of power. But my fear is that the broad spectrum, expanding definition of prejudice and harassment is now something that almost any woman can associate with. And we simply...
There we go. So the broadening of the definition of harassment and whatnot is something almost any woman can associate with, which basically means that every single woman who's in any kind of relationship or has been in any kind of relationship with a straight partner legally could accuse them of domestic violence. And Jess is calling this out. And I gotta, respect to absolutely anyone, whether it's me or whether it's Hammerhand or whether it's Terrence Pop or whether it's CGA or whether it's Donovan Sharp or whether it's Better Bachelor or whether it's Casual Bachelor or whether it's Think Before You Sleep or Sandman or Spetsnaz, any of the people in the manosphere, Human, shout out to Human, any of these men in the manosphere and so many more. And I'm sorry if I can't obviously list everyone because it's just too many people to list, but there's just people that come straight to my mind like that. I would pay my respects to any people that call this out, not just Jess. Let's continue.
Can't cry misogyny every time we're called out or held back in some way.
Oh, we can't cry misogyny every time we are called out or held back in some way. Let's go to called out. When you get called out for bad behavior, then you should take accountability for that. And she's calling out the people who don't tolerate being called out because salty. Shout out to TFM and the Ginger Hamster as well. I'm not into dolls. However, TFM, respect. And Meme says, what's up, Sydney? Guys, if you haven't checked out Meme, go over and check out his YouTube channel. It is popping. Love the animations, brother. Good to see you. Success pool. I think we should protest. That will make sense if you go over to Meme's channel.
I fear for an ideology and a rhetoric that's starting to set women against men.
I fear for an ideology and a rhetoric that's starting to set women against men. Very well said.
Focuses on what we can't do and haven't got, rather than what we can and have.
Focuses on what we can't do and haven't got, rather than what we can and have. Because if you focus on what you don't have or what you can't do, then that's what you're going to get. You're going to get what you don't have. Well, you're not going to get what you don't have. You're going to keep not having what you don't have. And you're going to keep not being able to do what you're not able to do, rather than focusing on what you do want to do. And guys, I encourage all of you to do what you can do what you want to do. Focus on that, because that is how you'll get to it.
My intention in seeking to shine light on some of the other side of these issues is not to deny the existence of discrimination that may exist in some of them,
Right.
but to question their cumulative net effect, that of female victimhood.
Ooh.
Feminism, like other forms of identity politics, has become obsessed with female victimhood.
It has.
Whereas it once used to be about the portrayal of women as mature, equal partners in society, it now seems more to be about girl power.
It encourages women to not be mature and equal.
Yes, it disempowers. It seems that we're weak and defenseless, like children.
And you need government support and male intervention. White ribbon. Men need to teach other men how to not hit. Really? Right? Men need to stand up against other men. They are literally trying to turn men against men and women against men, because men are the target.
Psychologists have long emphasized the power of beliefs to be borne out in reality and how stereotypes contribute to social inequality. Confidence is, of course, self-fulfilling, something you will all have experienced.
Stereotypes contribute to social inequality. Stereotypes such as men are privileged and don't need help in school, which, by the way, is exactly why we are seeing things like this. And I'm going to quickly bring this up for you. Here we go. That's the one. Let me bring this down here for you. So when you say that men don't need help and that boys are privileged and that the girls need assistance, oh, piss off. You're going to get things like this. Boys left to fail at school because attempts to help them earn the wrath of feminists. Interesting. Interesting. So attempting to help people that are failing at school is earning the wrath of feminists? I thought feminists were about equality. Well, it wouldn't appear to be from things like this. And it's not just in this country that that's happening.
You look good, you feel good. You're told someone likes you, you're more relaxed around them. And conversely, if you suspect somebody doesn't like you, then you act in a more defensive, less confident way around them.
Yep.
Victims believe they are impotent and that they have no sense of control over the way that events unfold. Assuming that something has happened to you due to prejudice, whether right or wrong, is rarely the most productive response. It prevents introspection, self-analysis, and more importantly, particularly if it was due to prejudice, evaluation of new methods and techniques for circumventing your status quo.
By the way, interesting comment from Eric Zombrow here. He says, the high school boys here in Oklahoma, many are red-pilled and going their own way. Well, it's interesting that you might say that because we've got the same thing happening in Australia. First men, now boys are going their own way. A growing group of boys are joining, well, as far as I'm concerned, it's a philosophy, not a movement, because it is decentralized. And we've got people that sort of talk about it, like, myself and others. However, there's no, I guess, head leader that everyone just follows. Everyone sort of picks who they want to do, does things their own way, and I respect that massively. So, it's not the only place where that's happening, Eric. So it's good to see. And Marie says a lot of young men are ignored in schools. Teachers have also been known to give higher grades. That is absolutely correct. That's absolutely correct.
What about men? Well, there's actually competition here for competitive victimhood if we want to play that game. Men have their own unique set of disadvantages that are rarely up for public discussion.
Yeah, they are rarely up for public discussion, especially in politics, which is why we don't have a minister for men. And whenever the topic is raised, surprise, surprise, the minister for women, particularly in Australia, goes, no, we don't need a minister for men. Women face more disadvantages than men, and that therefore we need a minister for women more than we need a minister for men.
Including higher rates of school dropout, of mental health,
Mhm.
vastly higher suicide rates,
Yep,
vastly higher workplace deaths,
absolutely.
war deaths,
Yep.
deaths in crime,
Mm-hmm.
higher rates of homelessness,
Yep,
criminal court bias and sentencing disparities,
absolutely.
where men receive nearly 60% longer sentences than women for the same crime,
Correct.
near equal domestic abuse rates, paternity fraud, child custody, and of course, reduced life expectancy.
And see, and even though we've already got this, right, and feminists are screaming out, oh, you know, patriarchy and discrimination. Did you know? Oh, hang on. A little bit of an issue there. Did you know that, oh, hang on. Having a little glitch with my, here we go. This was an opinion piece by our government-funded SBS, one of our national broadcasters. 8% of prisoners are women. That's about 8% too many, while they're already getting significantly less. You know, do you guys see this? Just think about this. Just think about this. And of course, domestic abuse, it's only 40% male, but it's 60% women. So they're more often the victims. So we need to completely focus on them. And men have got all the privilege, and men are the ones that are causing the 40% because, you know, they must have done something to deserve it. No, nothing ever. Like there's reasons why people are violent towards each other. I'm not condoning any of the reasons. I don't think you should do it. I think it's a really bad idea. So.
Even now, in this age of aspirational equality, the cry will go out, women and children first.
Absolutely.
Take, for example, the awful news story of Boko Haram and the terrorists that abducted the girls. Did you know that prior to this happening, those same terrorists had been abducting thousands of boys and murdering hundreds of boys and young men, burnt alive in their schools, shot in the streets?
Yep.
A situation that received no international attention until
Zero.
the terrorists turned their attention to the girls. And then, first ladies, media, celebrities, politicians up in arms. But why only then? Why are boys' lives seemingly valued so much less than girls?
Because they don't have vaginas.
Whoever may have it worse, I take issue with a debating ground based on competitive victimhood.
Right.
It's fruitless. It's destructive.
I agree.
Women are being encouraged to fear and distrust men.
Yep.
And men are more nervous and guarded in their interactions around women.
And rightly so.
And worse, resentful of a label of patriarchy, one the vast, vast majority don't recognize.
100%.
And have their own challenges to face. Already, we're seeing some rather worrying byproducts to all of this, such as 5 times more men now less inclined to mentor women in the wake of Me Too.
Yep.
75% of young girls yet to experience any form of discrimination talk about anxiety about it affecting their lives in some way.
By the way, did you know that Julia Gillard didn't know that she was oppressed and didn't know that she was a feminist until she went to university? Yeah.
And working class girls have been deprived of jobs that they love, such as page 3 girls and grid girls, because other women disapprove of them.
Yep.
What happened to My Body, My Choice?
Yep.
It's okay for Kim Kardashian, but not for a page 3 girl.
Yep.
And men have had their careers and reputations ruined overnight by Me Too.
They have.
Some possibly justly, but without any due process.
Correct.
No innocence until proven guilty. And where might all this lead? Quotas leading to doubts in ability? Was my recent MBE because of positive discrimination? Am I on this stage because of it? Should we ban flirting on campus and in the workplace? Incidentally, 2 of the places where you're most likely to meet a life partner. Might companies...
That's a very interesting point. Should we ban flirting on the workplace and at university, the 2 places you're most likely to meet a life partner? Well, I'm glad they banned flirting because I want men to stop flirting with women in these environments because I want women to come kicking and screaming and begging for a chance to have a partner. And for guys to be like, I make the rules around here. If you want anything, it's on my terms. And that's how it has to be.
We need to start recruiting fewer women into entry-level, lower-paid work so as to even up their gender pay gaps. And if 50-50 is the ultimate aim, then shouldn't we be arguing for quotas for more men in the fields of nursing, teaching?
Pew, pew. More men in teachers and nursing, hey? Well, I guess that would mean that the few men who apply for it compared to the masses of women who apply for those roles would get special privileges and an easy ride in rather than having to compete with all of the other equally qualified women if they are equally qualified. And in fact, they would probably get in even easier if they had positive discrimination to make it 50-50, even against women that they were less qualified than. Because you're not going to have every male candidate for those types of roles that is more qualified than every female candidate. It's just not going to happen. You're going to have some more qualified than the other and vice versa. And I think that the more qualified should get the role regardless of whether they're male or female. So, if you introduce 50-50, then you're basically going to be rolling out the red carpet for all of the men to say, hey, look, I know you kind of sucked a little bit. You kind of sucked in your results and you didn't do that well, but you're male and we need 50-50, so you're in. Because that's what's been happening with women in a lot of other industries. And this is why Jess Butcher is saying, did I really get this place on the stage? Did I really get my MBE because I was capable or because I was female? She's asking some pretty good questions, I have to say.
Veterinary science. More women on the front line, in construction, in refuse collection. And
more women in trash collection. I'm sure women are just chomping at the bit and lining up around the block to get into that industry. They can't even stand it when a dude farts, let alone a garbage truck for 6 hours straight.
Perhaps the three most important questions of all. Does power exist solely in the boardroom and at the highest levels of politics and business? Or is there the possibility that it exists in choice? And arguably, don't women have more of that? Does equality of opportunity have to equal equality of outcome? And aren't the assumptions that women need more support, protection, quotas in the workplace arguably the most patriarchal assumptions of all?
She just said it.
No.
She just said it.
Now, don't get me wrong. I don't believe that the women's movement has had its day or that there's no longer a case for feminism. But I do believe...
That's where I disagree with you, Jess. That's where I disagree with you. I think feminism is cancer. I think if the only way forward is to take an egalitarian position and let merit sort the rest out.
We need to reverse some of these negative trends. So here are three positive solutions, as I see it. One, where girls are concerned, the best way that we beat prejudice is to build up confidence and to show it and demonstrate it to be wrong.
We need to raise confident girls and confident boys.
Girls' strength and resilience to call out prejudice in the moment. We celebrate successful women, hold them up there as role models for both girls and boys, where arguably the impact may be greater.
Well said.
We don't do so always complaining about their minority representation. And we celebrate the unique power that women have today in schools, homes, marriages, families, and yes, business and politics, wielding immense influence over the hearts and minds of the future. And two, we turn our attention to true gender equality. Stop painting all men with the broad brush of oppressor. And recognize that, yes, there are bad, abusive men in this world.
There's bad, abusive women.
There are also bad, fallible women. Sadly, we are all equally capable of inflicting misery on each other.
Yep.
And in a world where women are able to participate more equally in the public sphere, we need to better level the private for men in our homes and families. And it's here that we should refocus the debate.
What are you saying?
And three, We give more oxygen to the truly deep, profound inequalities that still exist in this world. In developing countries, for women who can't get the same education.
And guys who can't get the same education.
Can't have access to birth control. Or here, socioeconomic and educational disadvantage. And the fact that hiring typically still happens along people like me lines, a much bigger threat to business diversity than gender. And above all, we listen to each other with open minds. Play the ideological ball and not the player. Be kind. So it's often said,
I'm not going to dispute what she said about being kind.
That you can't be what you can't see. No, not so. Some of the most powerful figures in history have been something that didn't exist. Rosa Parks refused to give up her bus seat, so kick-starting the course of civil rights. Stephen Hawking changed the world of science with his brain, irrespective of his bodily weakness. Tommy Smith and John Carlos silently raised their fists on the podium at the '68 Olympics, so drawing attention to black rights. And Malala stood up publicly to her oppressors and earned her a platform from which she could educate the world. They never believed they couldn't. They never cried victim. They were strong, resilient, defiant.
That's key.
Just as a terror.
So I'm not going to play the rest of that because there's like another minute and 20 left, but I'm not going to subject you to that. I just wanted to say, Stuart Barton, thank you for your super chat. Says men want women more than we need them. Women need men more than they want them. And we've got a couple of very fine gentlemen actually in the chat saying, I don't trust this female. She is full of it. Hammer hand. And look, there's a bunch of you guys that are saying this, and look, I'm not going to disagree with your sentiments. Ultimately, every single one of us, including all of you guys, we are all on some level fundamentally selfish. We should be, because we can't help ourselves until we help ourselves. We can't help other people that we care about, that we want to help of our own volition until we help ourselves. So look, she might be a chameleon. She might be just like the rest. But there is merit to what she is saying. And there's been a lot of very good points that she's brought up, which I think are a really good antidote to a lot of the feminist rhetoric that we're hearing. And I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing that conversations like these are had, because it will actually get people thinking and start to rewire the mind virus that has infested their brain and start to think, well, okay, well, look, I'm still a feminist, but maybe she's got a point. Maybe she's got a point. It's all about consistency and persistence and presenting things in a calm and rational manner. And that's what I've been aiming to do, particularly more recently, because I think that that's really the way to get things across. So, look, she may be a chameleon, and that's fine. As long as she walks her talk as the Minister for Women and Inequalities, in line with what she said in this video, I'm okay with her being whatever she is, as long as she walks her talk. That's all I care about. Anyway, gents, look, I know you think she's a chameleon, so probably Elvin says, Sydney's such a calm and rational male. Speaking of which, good old Rollo. Shout out to Rollo Tomasi. And yeah, so I got this book by Klaus Schwab talking about the Great Reset. I want to know what he's up to. That snake. And thank you, Omega Legion says, knowledge is power and it makes her dangerous to men. That is a fact. That is a fact. Anyway, gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was educational. I hope it was thought-provoking. And I see Jonah saying Skeletor and Bachelor saying, just like a woman. Yes. Shout out to Replicant Fish. Anyway, gentlemen, look, the womanist narrative is crashing down. Believe me, there's still plenty of people fighting to have it upheld, but I think that if we get enough people like Jess Butcher, who are female, coming out and speaking contrary to the absolute dogma that we are used to seeing, I truly believe that that is going to be a positive thing, a net positive. There's obviously upsides and downsides. I think it's going to be a net positive for men. I think it's going to be a net positive for women. I think it's going to be a net positive for society as a whole. And I think it's really going to take away from all of these Marxists who are trying to divide and conquer us. That's my thoughts on this. I hope you like this video. I appreciate you all. If you want to donate, you can check out my PayPal link down below. I'm going to be posting this video up on Rumble as well. Check out my Rumble referral link if you're going to join Rumble, and make sure to click through there. It helps this channel. I will see you in the next video, guys. Peace.